Hi, my name is Brian Cregan. I'm an artist photographer. I also work on the Creative Schools programme with the Arts Council. I do a lot of photography workshops in schools. I do a lot of artist residencies. So that would mean doing things like pinhole photography, portraiture, photograms, things like that. And I really I love coming to schools and working with young people. Photography for me is, I suppose, it's a passion. I love the way it combines art and science together. I love the way you can express yourself through it with really simple equipment. And later on, I'll be giving you a few photography tips that you can learn, and a couple of activities that you can practice on then, and you can submit your work. So it should be good fun. I've been working from home a lot at the moment. But I suppose it's given me time to do a little bit of research. You can see some of my books here. I can catch up on a lot of my reading. I can also do a lot of editing on my photographs and things like that on the computer. Normally I'll be out on location. I work a lot with galleries, with museums, with artists, with curators. So I would be out documenting events or taking photographs, say, in a museum of artworks, or working with architects or designers. I also work in a darkroom here in Stony Batter, and I do a lot of printing. I print my own work, my black and white work. So that would be shot on kind of old cameras like this one here, or this old box brandy, for example, or even pinhole photography. It's a pinhole camera here. But at the moment, I've been working close to home and doing a lot of walking, actually. We have a baby, so we bring her out for her walks, but I take photographs on my walks. And I suppose at the moment, just being so close to home, I've had a real opportunity just to to slow down and to look and to observe and even to listen, and it's lovely now. You can hear the bird song, you can hear the wind in the trees, you can hear, like I say, a baby crying a couple of streets away because there's so little traffic. But I love going on these little walks. I just bring my smartphone and I would take little photographs here and there. There's really nice things going on. I live in Stony Batter, which is a lovely part of the city. And people are putting teddy bears in windows, for example, so children, when they're walking around, they can have a look. So really nice things like that. I've also noticed that the streets are made of these beautiful, like, kind of red and yellow bricks. They're all like brick terraces. But if you look closely at a lot of the bricks, you can see little etchings, and you can see like the names of people who would have lived here, say, a long time ago. And the oldest kind of name that I found is going back to the 1950s. And I can show you one or two examples here. But it's just lovely to get that kind of sense of history. I suppose you'd call it micro graffiti, but it gives you a sense of the energy on the street, the people who lived here going back, through the 80s, 90s, 70s, back to the 50s. So I'm on the hunt now for finding the oldest one, So the houses are about 100 years old. So I'm hoping I'm find one going way, way back, But that's just one of my activities, And as a photographer, I suppose it's about connecting with your environment, with the place that you live, and using photography as a tool to record where you live, but also, I suppose, to express yourself and how you feel. And that's one of the things I love about photography. Later on, I'll show you a couple of tips that you can use that'll hopefully improve your photography skills. So guys, for this activity, we're going to be using a camera, and it doesn't really matter what kind of camera you use. I've got a few examples here. You might have one of these at home. This is an old kind of compact camera, which are great and very simple and easy to use, fit in your pocket. Obviously, a lot of us might have one of these, or you could borrow one from maybe a family member just for taking photographs. Smartphone, very easy to use, and the quality is great on them. Some of you might have even an older camera if you had a roll of film. That could be lovely. Some of you might be experienced with shooting film. That'd be great to use that as well. But keep it simple, I'd say. Use what you have, and I'll explain a little bit later on. I'll give you a few tips how to to use your camera. Just going to share a couple of photography tips. I'm going to keep it simple, but hopefully you'll find them useful. I'm going to start off with the first one is called framing. Now, I suppose this connects in some ways if anybody does like painting or likes to draw. You're looking at, you're working off a square or a rectangle, and photography is similar like that. You've got maybe a device like this can be really handy. This is just a simple frame, cut out a card, and it can be just nice to take it out and just, instead of like taking photographs, just to take it out and to observe things, just looking through your frame. It's very useful. And I suppose you're deciding what you want to keep in and what you want to keep out, what subject you want to focus in on. So that's simply what framing is. The next one is composition. That's how you arrange the subject inside your frame. As a photographer, I suppose I would usually do this by moving around, changing the frame. Say if you were doing still life though, you could move the objects inside the frame. So that's another way of doing it, of changing those relationships. I use a technique called rule of thirds, which is really useful, and I'll show you a couple of examples. This is about dividing up your frame into grid, basically, of 9 different sections. And it's a really handy tool for creating, I suppose, more a dynamic look inside your frame rather than having everything dead center. Things can get a bit boring or linear. But if you use the grid, you can kind of put things off center in different objects. Especially useful in landscape photography for framing up your horizon. Because, if you're going to put your horizon in the middle of the frame, it's going to be very boring. But if you put it like down the front or up the back, it makes it much more dynamic and interesting. So the next thing I'd like to talk about is using, I suppose it goes back to framing. And if I was photographing a scene, I would start off with a wide shot. And a wide shot, I suppose, is like including like a lot of information in it. If you can picture like something like, say, at the beginning of a movie, you'd often see like it could be a scene of New York shot from a helicopter. You'll see Manhattan and all the skyscrapers laid out. That's that would be a wide shot, or what they call in cinema an establishing shot. So that tells you straight away, oh, we're in New York. This is where our story begins. And it's a really useful tool for, I suppose, setting the scene, we could say, So I'd start off with a wide shot. Then I would go in a little bit closer. I would move towards my subject and frame them a little bit closer. If it was a portrait, what I would do is I'd probably go like from their head to their waist, and that would be a close-up. So I'm going in a little bit more detail, but I can probably still see their hands, what they're wearing, get a sense of that, And then the next photograph, the shot I would do would be a close-up. Close-up would be probably, of a person, it would be a portrait of their face. Of an object, it would be going quite close in on it and filling the frame with that object. So you can really get connected with it, get a sense of who the person is. You could maybe see the color of their eyes, their skin tone. And you really kind of feel that you're there, you're actually connecting more with the individual rather than the landscape or the environment around them. So that's the close-up. You could use extreme close-up, which is used in cinema a lot. That would be just focusing in on the eyes. And that would be maybe seeing a mood or a reaction in somebody's eyes. And that would be an extreme close-up. Another really useful tool that I use is using Vantage Point. So you can vary, I suppose, the angle that you're shooting from, rather than just shooting like at eye level all the time, which is great and very engaging, say for a portrait. But sometimes if you change the angle, you can create a different mood. You can imagine if you're shooting from below and looking up, what kind of mood that can create in a scene. And that's what you call a low angle, or you could call it a worm's eye view. I work a lot with younger children, and they love getting down on the ground and then holding the camera up and seen above. So I suppose everybody looks like giants, or, you know, there's kind of that idea of distortion, you know, but it gives a lovely effect. And then I suppose working from a high angle, and again, that's looking down, shooting down. And I mean, sometimes at an event, I would stand on a chair, say, or a ladder to photograph a room. So you're getting high up above everybody, and you can see more of what's going on. So that would be a high angle. And then a nice thing to do in portraiture is to go around the side and to shoot from the side. And this would be like more like a profile, I suppose. And that's another way of looking. But in general, I would kind of, if I can, I would walk around my subject doing like a 360 and seeing all the different angles that I can photograph. Guys, another really important thing in photography is lighting. I suppose it's one of the key parts to photography is lighting. I would recommend thinking about light, even not taking photographs, but think about the quality of the light. Look out and see how sunlight, you know, casts a shadow on a tree in a garden, say, or in a park. And think about a cloudy day, you know, are there any shadows, you know? What's it like at sunset? How does it affect shadow? How does it affect color? And again, at midday, during the middle of the day. So think of light changes during the day. It changes when it's sunny. It changes when it's dull. So it's really important getting to know light, and that's through experience. You know, not just taking photographs, but just like looking and observing the effects that light have. So, guys, this activity is called Close to Home. I want you to take a single photograph, or you can take a series of photographs, maybe up to 5. You know, to tell a story of being close to home. You can photograph inside your home, in your house or your apartment. You could go into the garden. You could go in the street. And some of you might be going out on walks every day, maybe alone or with your family. That's a nice time to take photographs. That's something I do myself all the time. And I suppose, you know, we've a little bit more time to observe our environment. So that's a really nice time to take photographs. And again, you can use the photography tips I was talking about, the wide shot, medium shot, and close-up, changing the vantage point. Another nice thing to do is to, you know, you could create your own theme. I've just kind of given it a broad framework, close to home, but you could actually think of a theme or an idea. So something like my walk, or my daily walk, or my garden, or you could get something a little bit more artistic, like it could be a mystery or the 5 senses. So I'm going to leave that up to you guys. I want to keep it open just for you guys, so you can express what you like through photography and through your own ideas. So guys, I'd like you to maybe give your photographs titles as well. Titles are really important in photography. They tell us, I suppose, what happened, where, when it was, and they're really handy for historical purposes looking back. If you look at family photographs, sometimes you flip them over, there's a date on it, and that is actually really valuable information, or it could say who's in it. And, you know, the photograph could be passed down the generations, but when you flip it over, you can see who it is and when it was taken. So in that sense, titles are really valuable pieces of information. If you like, it'd be nice if you could write a little bit of text about your project, why you chose the idea, what it's about, maybe, or how it makes you feel. But again, that's an open thing and up to you guys. So guys, you can share your work using the link in the description. I'm really looking forward to seeing the photographs. The main thing is to have fun and experiment. That's the best way to learn. And maybe to make a small selection between 1 and 5, as I was saying. And enjoy. Yeah, can't wait to see them.